Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have another Silent Night, Deadly Night film review for you. This one is considered one of the worst movies ever made. Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, or Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 as it used to be called apparently. This is a VHS copy I got from Hollywood Video way back in the day when they first started getting rid of their VHS tapes. I always wanted to see this flick. I remember seeing the pictures on the back of the box and how brutal it looked. I eventually picked up the whole Silent Night, Deadly Night film franchise. I had not seen Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, even though I owned the VHS forever. I finally picked up all 5 of the films, and I bought the 6th before all these, of course, before I ever got to see all these other original 5. Anyway, I have a unrated set with the original unrated Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is pretty decent, I guess. It's not amazing. I just did a review for it. And Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2 is on this as well. This is the way I watched it this time. I have a lot to say about this movie. There's not... Anybody who's watching this is probably going to know all the basics of what I'm going to cover, but this is mainly a review for people who have not seen it, I guess. Spoiler-free, all of that stuff, but there's a lot to be said. Starting off, we have some wonderful credits music that are just beautiful, elegant, dark, almost synthy. I really like it. By the way, this came out in 1987. It came out 3 years after the original flick. It's very clearly a rush job, trying to make money off of the popularity, or the, at least, I wouldn't say popularity, but at least the controversiality of that first film, how well received it was by the horror community. They tried their best. I don't know why it took 3 years to make this terrible sequel. But the first film's not that great, in my opinion, to begin with. Eventually, I plan on ranking all these films. You'll probably be shocked about what you see when it comes to that, but hopefully you'll stick around and watch these reviews and then watch that ranking video. I plan on making a ranking video playlist, so that'll make it a little bit easier to spot it if you happen to watch this later on down the road. It's 2021 right now. Anyway, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. Of course, the way the first film ended up, we assume Ricky is going to pick up the mantle of his brother Billy. Of course, kind of a spoiler for the end of the first film. Billy, the killer from the first film, is dead. His brother was still in the orphanage. He's a little bit younger than Billy. And Ricky is played by a fellow who uses his eyebrows to talk through this entire film. He's currently been arrested for whatever reason we don't really know right now, but he's been interviewed by a bunch of different therapists and whatnot. We assume he's a nut job too by the way he acts. I want to tell you, the fellow playing him, I think he could have had some kind of career in the future. He's terrible here, and I do not blame him. I think it's a directing and script issue. I think some idiot had no clue what they were doing with this movie. It's a mess. It's poorly directed. There are times that actors are almost killed in real life. You can see that with a car wreck that happens in the film. It's such a sloppy movie. And the thing that pisses me and most people off about this flick is that I'm actually engaged with Ricky. I know he's a little goofy in his performance, but there are certain parts of the new movie that I'll talk about in a moment that I actually like hearing Ricky talk to this therapist about what happened with his brother, and then he recaps the whole movie, the whole original movie. Almost 40 minutes to 45 minutes of this movie, that's an hour and a half long, is dedicated to recapping with clips that first movie. And it feels like it drags for ages. I've gotten so irritated with watching this every year when I try to at least watch these movies to make whatever content or whatever I plan on doing with them. I tried to talk about them a while back. I decided not to on this channel a couple of years ago. I decided to just skip through those recap things because I had literally just finished the first film right before this, and I was like, I'm not sitting through all that again. So I skimmed through all that part because I'm not a big fan of the first one. If it was recaps of something I really loved and enjoyed, then yeah, I'd probably watch them just because it'd be the highlight reel, basically. They did a little recasting here and there of like the younger Ricky and whatnot. And that is what it is. But again, most of this is Ricky talking to a therapist and us trying to figure out what happened here. Is he eventually going to go on a killing spree? Is he going to try to hunt down Mother Superior if he manages to break out of this jail he's being held into or whatever? You have that anticipation for those things, but it takes 45 minutes, almost 50 minutes to really get there and wonder where this is going. And then Ricky at certain points talks about his past before leading up to where he's been held captive as a or with a therapist in jail and whatever. And I like that newer film stuff. Does that make sense? I know everybody hates on this film. Yeah, it's goofy. Yeah, the guy that plays Ricky is a super goofball, like the way he throws his eyebrows around. But he was a handsome fella. He could have gotten some kind of career in something that could have been cool, maybe a silent film role or something, I don't know. Played Conan or something. He could have done something cool, I think. But the dude just like fell off the face of the earth. I don't know if you guys know that story, but it's interesting. Apparently nobody's been able to contact this guy. I think he's been found in public one time and asked about this movie. It's kind of sad. It's kind of sad, honestly, because this thing like ruined whatever career he could have had In my opinion, it did. But I think he had some kind of talent somewhere in him that he could have done some kind of decent role and been iconic in some way. And now he's just the garbage day guy that everybody's been watching that little snippet clip on YouTube for like 15 years now. And that's sad. The film is, even the newer footage is so goofy and over the top that it almost ruins the legacy of the first film and what it had if you loved that movie. For the fans that are out there, it's very goofy, very silly a lot of the time. Some of the one-liners and stuff are so dumb, and I don't blame that actor that plays Ricky. I just don't. I blame the director, I blame the writers, I blame everybody involved with this film but that actor, because he can only do what he's given, what he's allowed to say on camera, whatever. I don't blame him. Again, the music sells the movie for me. I like the music a lot. I think the opening and ending credits music is great. It really brings you into this mood of expecting a good film. And I would have been pissed back in the day if I had seen this in 1987 in the theaters and seen how bad this was as the film progressed past those beautiful music lyrics. It's just a shame. There's really not much to be said about any of it, honestly. Ricky looks cool in the outfit, too. There's some cool things in here, and then there's some absolutely nonsensical, not even silly or goofy, but completely nonsensical, makes no sense type of stuff. There's a decapitation thing in here that makes no sense at all. There's a chase scene in here that makes no sense why Ricky couldn't catch this person as fast as he could have been able to, especially with how physically huge and muscular and big he is. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. It's dumb. There's not as much nudity in this film as there is in the first film, which is not a complaint for me, because the first film was almost completely obnoxiously sleazy in that way. It just irritates me over time. It's almost like the Friday the 13th remake and the Halloween 2007 remake. There's just so much nudity, it just kind of ruins the movie for me, because it gets so irritatingly out of the way to do it. I wouldn't call it gratuitous, but it's just like, it's going out of its way to do that, so I guess you could call it gratuitous if you wanted to, but whatever. I was not excited to watch this time around. Yeah, I get a couple of good laughs here and there. Yeah, there's some cool Christmas decorations I saw in this film that my family have had at our old house when I was still living at home. There were some cool things to see in here, some little things I'd spot in the background. But a lot of this film doesn't even take place during Christmas time. It's recapping different parts of the year and whatnot. Again, 3 years to make this piece of junk with most of the movie being a recap of the original flick. What happened here? What happened? What kind of history is there about Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 that we can find out about the studio or anything of why this happened the way it happened? It's just odd to me. I would like to know if there's anybody with any information out there, any documentaries or some kind of confirmed information about any of this stuff. Let me know down in the comment section, because I'd love to know about it. I'm so curious about why we got this of all things compared to what we had with the first movie. A giant clip show movie. Why? Who thought this was a good idea? But overall, I really don't have anything else to say about it. It's just a piece of crap. The first film's watchable to an extent for the most part, but boring, I would say, a lot of the time. Even the character development's not that great to begin with. Billy's good, but a lot of the other ones are kind of whatever. But this film, Ricky, I like the actor. He's very over the top, and that kind of sells it for me in the weirdest way, like I said. And everything else kind of falls flat. The settings are bland. The climax of the movie is bland. The conclusion's stupid. When you see part 3, you're even more just completely baffled with how bad this series went so fast. It's pretty amazing. I'm surprised this had a Blu-ray release last year or the year before, or whenever it was, recent years. I'm amazed that this got anything close to that because of how it's notorious for being one of the worst films ever made, kind of like Manos and the Hands of Fate, or Manos, the Hands of Fate, whatever it was called. Anyway, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. What did you think about this piece of crap? Let me know down in the comment section down below. I'm trying to remember if this is what I consider the worst out of the franchise. I don't remember. It's probably going to be that way when I do the ranking. I don't know for sure. But I don't remember the other films very well to begin with. I don't watch these every year. Not a big fan of this franchise. It just is what it is. It's Christmas time. I figured I'd talk about it. But if I had to rate this film on a 5-star basis, there are things I laughed at. There are things I do like. There are things I do appreciate. So it's not a completely hating across the board. I cannot go for a 1 out of 5 stars, so I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 stars, just because that's what I generally rate mine on. It's based on enjoyability factor. If I hate everything in the movie, period, it's 1 out of 5, no questions asked. But if I appreciate even the slightest thing, even a couple of things, out of a really bad flick, I give it a 2 out of 5, just out of justifiability. But that's my rating on this. I would love to never have to talk about this again, and now that I have this review, I probably never will talk about it ever again. I'll probably never do a spoiler review or anything like that. Anyway, what are your thoughts on this film? Put them down below. Again, ranking video coming up at some point whenever I get all these watched. It's going to probably take the rest of the month to get them all watched because I've been so busy recently. But I would love to hear what you have to say about it down below. What's your favorite of the series? Is this your favorite for whatever reason? Do you love these movies? Do you love this franchise? I like that they're all pretty much unique to their own way, which is interesting. Most film series don't have that. They all want to replicate the previous movie or the first film. But I like this. I like the difference in the different films in the series. I like how wild it gets by the time you get to parts 4 and 5, and I love the remake, actually. Anyway, put your thoughts and comments down below. Thank you for watching. God bless you. Merry Christmas, and goodbye.